Yo, what's up family? Fallen Marvel here, and I am well overdue for a review. So anyway, welcome into your review of the Tupac Shakur biopic, All Eyez on Me. I'm sorry, sir, who are you again? Yeah, Marv, I know it's been a while since the last time I did a review. I've already been back and forth with myself about it, okay? You're still going back and forth with yourself about it. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, as usual, I'm gonna give you the good, the bad, spoiler talk, and then my overall thoughts. Of course, I'm going to warn you when the spoiler talk begins, and this, that, and the other. So anyway, let's go ahead with this review. And then you won't see us again for another 4 months. So get into the positive. I have to say, for the most part, the movie is pretty well acted. Actor Demetrius Shipp Jr. does a pretty good job portraying Tupac, and of course none other than Danai Gurira, I believe. No, that's kind of Spanish sounding, but anyway, you all know her as Michonne on The Walking Dead, and she does a really good job playing Afeni Shakur. And I have to mention actress Kat Graham, who, in my opinion, does a pretty spot-on portrayal of Jada Pinkett. So of course you get to revisit a lot of Tupac's biggest hits, according to like his first verse with Digital Underground, and of course Brenda's Got a Baby, and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's good for nostalgia, especially if you were a Tupac fan. Going back to talking about the performances, I do have to say that as far as the portrayal of Tupac, I have to say that Demetrius had his cadence down pretty well. There are moments in the movie with Tupac's portrayal where you have to kind of do a double take to make sure you're not actually looking at Tupac. So with that, I have to commend him on it. Alexandria Shipp might have resembled Aaliyah, but it don't mean she did a good job. Really, Marv? That's what we doing today? I will say for the majority that the best thing about this movie is showing the relationship between Tupac and his mom, which obviously was a driving force for Tupac in general. So I think in that regard, they captured the essence of that relationship really well. They did a really good job adding emotional weight in this movie. So I will say that the main characters, for the most part, you are believing that this is something that they'll go through when the situation calls for it. So, you know, props to that. So with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move into the bad section. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Don't worry, the critical reception had nothing to do with this one. Okay, so of course, every movie has its flaws, and it's okay to talk about certain flaws, but the only thing is that some of the flaws in this movie were pretty noticeable. It took a while to finally get invested to the overall story that they were telling on Tupac's life, because it seems like the first 45 minutes to an hour, it's like snippets of everything that happened in his early life up to him becoming famous. If you see the trailers, you know they show Tupac with the journalist while he was in jail telling his story. And they lead off with him in jail telling the story, and then they show said story that he happens to be talking about play out. The problem with that is it feels very episodic, and it doesn't last long, and it doesn't really have any meat to it. It just goes from one point in his life, done with that, then goes to the next point in his life, done with that, then goes to the next point in his life, and done with that. And it feels very cut up, and it doesn't feel natural. Again, this is going on for about like 45 to 50 minutes, maybe an hour. I wasn't counting, but at that point, I didn't feel myself being as invested in it. So what you trying to say, FM? Like movies can't tell their story in an episodic fashion? What I am saying is that there are times when it works and times where it doesn't work. Perfect example where it does work, Pulp Fiction. That was a movie that was telling its story out of order, and even with that being the case, it was still done in an interesting way, and by the time the movie ended, you were able to piece those things together, and it still made for a great movie. That's something I don't think went over as well in All Eyez on Me. Another issue the movie had was there wasn't smooth transition between scenes. There are scenes where meaningful dialogue will take place, and sometimes it'll transition from that dialogue before a resolution is reached, and it feels a little weird. Let me give you an example. Marv, I'm gonna need your help for this one. Oh, now you call on my help for something. All right, whatever.
Hey, son. I was wondering when you gonna get up.
Hey, Pop. I had to pull an all-nighter studying, so I didn't get much sleep, but I'm okay.
Listen, I know things ain't been going that great, but I just want you to know I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks. Well, I gotta get going. I'll see you later, Pop.
All right, you take care out there. Hey, son. I was wondering when you gonna get up.
Hey, Pop. I had to pull an all-nighter studying, so I didn't get much sleep, but I'm okay. See what I mean? If there's not smooth transition from one situation to another, like, it can feel a little disjointed, and that kind of took me out of the storytelling. In conclusion of the negatives, I have to say the biggest problem I had with this movie was it really wasn't telling us anything that we didn't already know. One of the goals for a movie like this is to get more insight on the person you're telling the story about and find out something new. And honestly, there was maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 things that I didn't previously know. And honestly, that was really disappointing. Maybe it wasn't a new to tell. DeMar, what is the point of making the movie? Okay, we're gonna go into spoiler territory now. So if you don't want it spoiled, I'll put a tag in the description and whatnot so you can skip that and just get my final thoughts. So anyway, let's go to the spoilers. So honestly, it's really not a whole lot to spoil, but there are a couple things I want to talk about, namely the introduction of pivotal characters in his life. See, the thing is with introducing the people who had an effect on his life other than his mom, everybody else feels like a footnote. And I know what you're saying. I know the movie is about Tupac, but at the same time, if there are people that he's met along the way, like other rap artists or the journalist guy or whoever the case may be, it would be cool to know like what their relationship was like, what their motivation was, and kind of make it come full circle. But honestly, it really didn't feel like, at times it really didn't feel like there was a point of them being there. We had his mom, who was the only other person that didn't really feel like a footnote. Then you had Jada and Digital Underground, Dr. Dre, and Snoop. Like, honestly, they all felt like just footnotes, essentially. And granted, I know they can't explore everything that happened in his life, but at the same time, these interactions to me should have felt more, I should have felt more impact on the events of Tupac's life. And even with them being included, I didn't feel that. With Dr. Dre, like, he was there and then he was gone just as fast as he came. And again, you know, I would have liked to have known like what his thought process was working for Dre for the first time, how he felt after Dre left Death Row. And like I said, he just felt like a footnote, and that was it. But I have to say, the most memorable footnote in this movie had to been Snoop Dogg, and not in the memorable way that you think. Oh, please enlighten us, dear FM. Okay, remember when Snoop Dogg showed up in Straight Outta Compton, played by Keith Stanfield, and he had the cadence down a little bit, like he did a pretty nice and impersonation of Snoop Dogg. He sounded like him a little bit. You know, it was interesting. But the actor that they had for this movie, now, he didn't look like Snoop Dogg very much, but I noticed that he sounded awfully a lot like Snoop, which kind of threw me off. I'm like, dang, like he sounded a lot like Snoop. But in other scenes with him talking, I noticed they ADR'd Snoop's voice over the script, like over his lines that were spoken. And at first I didn't want to believe it, but they seriously ADR'd Snoop's voice in the dialogue, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I didn't feel good, that's for sure. Well, didn't they do the same thing with Tina Turner and Angela Bassett? First of all, Marv, that was when she was singing, not while she was talking normally. Well, okay, I got nothing. Again, I was disappointed in the fact that I didn't really learn anything new about Tupac. So, you know, it is what it is. So, final thoughts of the movie. It was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't a great movie. It certainly was no Straight Outta Compton, that's for sure. I can only recommend this movie if you are a diehard Tupac fan, but even then, you still may be disappointed because, as I said, it doesn't really give us any new information about him. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't see the movie, but I can't recommend to go to the theaters to see it. So, with all that being said, All Eyez on Me gets a 6 out of 10. It had some good parts, it was some feelings of nostalgia, but as a whole, it just didn't flow very well. And I have to say that I am disappointed that the movie ended up being the way that it was. Good review, FM. So, we'll meet back here in about 4 or 5 months. Look, Marv, will you drop it already? Okay, we're back now, alright? Yeah, I'll believe when I see it. Well, folks, that is my review. It has been long overdue since I uploaded anything on YouTube, but hey, things happen. It is what it is, but hey, I'm back now, and, you know, drop me a line, and I'll try to catch up on some things that I missed, so expect some late reviews coming and such, so, yeah. I've said everything I needed to say. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, all those wonderful things, and I will check with you guys next time. Until then, keep following my advice to go nerd, but nerd responsibly. This is your boy, Fallen Marvel, and I'm Marv. And you won't see us until next year. And family, we out.